with the latest happenings in the ever-busy world of sports. And of course, on our talking point on the show this evening, Super Eagles gears up for Colombia-friendly ties. Of course, Manchester United, former Manchester United goalkeeper Ben Foster has predicted Ruben Amorim's sack. And in the La Liga, Real Madrid are set to take on Atletico Madrid in the La Liga weekend showdown. All these and many more is going to form the bulk of our conversation here this evening when I'm back from this short break. Don't go anywhere. All right, yeah, welcome back from that short break. Here with me in the building to take a look at all these interesting sporting stories that we have for you is a veteran journalist, one that have traveled far and wide, one who truly understands the depth, when I mean in-depth knowledge of the game, that I have the pleasure of having with me this evening in the building, Mr. Peter Agbaje. Sir Peter, good evening and welcome to Sport Extraordinary.
It's always a pleasure with you in the studio, Mike, and trusting that, yes, it will get better for us in this part of the country, not just what we say is the king of all of them, football, but, sport in its entirety.
All right, let's before we get on the way, there's something remarkable happened a few days ago. SWAN, that is a Sport Writers Association of Nigeria, President Azar Benjamin, actually ordered its member to boycott the annual General Assembly of Nigerian Football Federation coming up very soon. What do you make of that before we head straight to the crux of the matter?
Well, I think that order has been relapsed because the latest report from the SWAN National Secretariat is that the Nigeria Football Federation has also retracted some of its positions on what led to the president of sports journalists in Nigeria issuing that directive that sports writers in the country to boycott the annual General Assembly of the Nigeria Football Federation. Of course, it should be a symbiotic relationship between, the administrators of sports and those who set the agenda, for sports development in the country. Talking about sports, writers, it's like when you have co and operation. If NFF and other federation is bringing operation and SWAN is bringing co, we're going to have cooperation and everything will work seamlessly. So I want to believe that whatever that could have led to that earlier directive has been sorted out, and it's going to be a symbiotic relationship between the Nigeria Football Federation and sports writers in the country.
All right, that is not the main, topic, but I just need to, of course, have his take because he's a senior, of course, a big stakeholder. So when it has to do with, what is going on there, and that is why I had to take his, opinion regarding that. But then let's head straight to the crux of the matter because the Federation of African Football, CAF, has appointed Algeria's referee Hossan Ben Yahia for a CAF Champions League first round, second a leg match between Rivers United FC and Les Angles de Congo. Ben Yahia will be assisted by fellow countryman Hamza Bouzid, who is the assistant referee 1, and Hatim Bouema, assistant referee 2. Lotfi Kusa will serve as the fourth official. The match will be commissioned by Mokalia Nassam Adam from Ghana. Rivers United will do battle with the FC Les Eagles at the Congo at the Gosul Akpabio International Stadium on Sunday, that is the 28th of September. The Pride of Rivers held the Congolese side to goalless draw in the first leg in Congo last week. And the return leg promises to be a massive clash because Rivers United went away. They fought gallantly and came back with a point. Do you see them finishing the job back here home at the Gosul Akpabio International Stadium?
My fear for Rivers United this season is their inability to score plenty of goals at home. I've watched them twice this season at home. They've struggled to score goals. And this has always been the problem of the team. Right from the days of Stanley Guma, who is now with Eyimba Football Club of Aba. And now we have Coach Afinidi George, who has been with the team for about 2 seasons now, if not more. I've not seen Rivers United play beyond what has been their style of play. You know, they sit tight in the back and they just score 1 or 2 goals and go back to hold their own. On the continent, the number of goals that you score at this stage of the competition is very important. And come Sunday, Rivers United will be the team playing under pressure. Let's not say the goalless draw away from home as a very good result for the team. If the Congolese side scores first and Rivers United fails to equalize or come back and score a second goal, they are out of the competition. So on Sunday, it is the team that take its chances that will scale through to the next round of the competition. And I just hope that the boys will bring their A game to the table on Sunday at the Gospel Akpabio International Stadium. And come to think of it, the game is not going to be played here in Port Harcourt, some 150 kilometers, if not more than, away from home. So the lads will have to struggle to impress themselves, impress the technical handlers of the team before they impress the sponsors of the team, which is the River State government. We have 4 teams on the continent, and it's looking likely that maybe just 1 or 2 will be progressing to the next round of the competition. If you ask me, Rivers United have the brightest of chances amongst all of them to progress to the next round of the competition. But again, football is something that is very, very unpredictable. It's like your cream cracker biscuit that can break, from any part, if you don't hold it properly. So if we're thinking that it's going to be Rivers United, we might end up saying Abia Warriors, Kwara United, and even Remo Stars. Remo Stars look as good as getting to the next round of the competition because of their excellent performance, in the first leg. But Rivers United, they must bring their A game to the table, and they have to score as early as possible to put the pressure on the Congolese side. Anything that will make them concede first, they'll need to put 120% to come back, into the game. We actually don't know what most of these club sides play because most matches at this stage of the competition are not on TV. And most leagues in Africa, matches are actually not on TV, talking about domestic football. If Rivers United was to be playing against any of the teams in North Africa, then we will be double sure of knowing how this team plays because you have their games on TV, or you're playing against a side from South Africa. But for a Congolese side, you hardly have their matches on TV. So you're going to be thinking, trying to see, trying to visualize, out of nothing to something to get results in the field of play for the coaches right now. But I think, having watched them play in the first leg at 90 minutes of action, Coach Finidi George should know what to do, on Sunday to get the business done inside 30 minutes of the first 45 minutes.
Now, let's, stick with this very issue of Nigerian club side representing us out in the CAF Champions League. It's been a while since 2004 to 2005 where Enyimba did the exploit under the then governor, you know, Oji Carlo. Ever since then, it's become nearly impossible for Nigerian teams to, of course, go find a CAF organized competition. Where is the missing link for Nigerian teams?
I think it is one, the resources, and two, should I say, the right manager at every point in time, and the backing from the sponsors of the team. You talked about Eyimba in 2003, 2004, and don't forget in 2005, they narrowly lost to Al Ali of Egypt
yes.
in the semi-finals.
Yes.
And all of these finals, the 2005 edition, the 2004 edition, and 2005, I watched virtually all of their matches from the group stage up to the finals for games at home. In 2002, 2003, 2004, 2005, Eyimba was like the best side, you know, in Nigeria. Eyimba can contribute, you know, players that can hold their own in the national team setup. If you were to restrict players from Europe to play for the Super Eagles of Nigeria, you know, that year, you check the defense line of Eyimba where they had Uga and Obina Waneri. You have one of the Okemiri brothers playing from the right wing back, Tanda playing from the left wing back. You have Ali Abubakar, an architect, playing in the defensive midfield. You have a lot of players, you know, playing for Eyimba, you know, 2003, 2004, 2005. And I want to say perhaps that could easily pass for the golden moment of football, domestic football in Nigeria, because in 2005, we had Dolphins FC progressing up to the finals of the CAF Confederation Cup. They were the first Nigerian club side to make it to the finals, and Dolphins FC was equally tight, you know, that period. So when you have the best legs, or about the best legs in the land playing for you, you can possibly take any side on the continent to the cleaners. Each time you have Eyimba playing against a Dolphins, whether it is in Aba, in Port Harcourt, you know, you have an appreciable crowd coming to watch, you know, excellent football. In Eyimba, they had Kadri Ikana as manager of the side. Then in Dolphins FC, they had Musa Abdullahi and Philip Boma, you know, in the dugouts for Dolphins Football Club of Port Harcourt. When you look at player for player for both sides, you agree with me that we had the best legs in the domestic scene playing for these two sides. But fast forward to the current dispensation, you know, how rugged are our players in the defense, in the midfield, you know, and how technically and tactically sound our strikers, you know, up front. Dolphins, if they have 5 chances in 2003, 2004, they'll bury like 3. If Eyimba has 6 chances, you can be rest assured that 3 or 4 will go past the goalkeepers. We hardly have a situation where our strikers, you know, miss the avalanche of chances that they come their way. But today, that appears to be the order. You hardly see connection between the 3 departments of the game: the defense to the midfield to the attack. In 2003, that you talked about, 2004, each time you go to the stadium, you have a reason for going to the stadium, because you know there's one player you're going to watch in field of play. There used to be a born player from Benin Republic. He has a Nigerian heritage but plays for Benin Republic. I'm trying to remember his name, playing for Eyimba Football Club. In fact, any players of Eyimba back then can easily walk into, you know, any team, you know, on the continent, you know, of Africa. And we had so many of them. By the time they left Eyimba, they were in the first team of club sides in Northern Africa. They were in the first team of club sides in the southern part of Africa. Eyimba was a very big project back then, because the governor, now senator, did campaign with Eyimba that if he becomes the governor of the state, from what we were told, that Eyimba will become the first Nigerian club side to win the CAF Champions League. Did he achieve that? Yes, he did, back to back, 2003, 2004. So the most important thing is having the right administrators, at the helm of affairs, managing your club side, knowing what to do, how to support the technical department of the team, and also knowing what to do behind, the scene to make the job of the players, the coaches, and even the spectators a little bit, seamless, because you cannot do away with the 12th player, whether you play badly or you play very well. There comes a time when you need, the support of the 12th player, which is the fans, to get, even in the field of play. So many things are missing today. How many of our good legs are still in the domestic scene today? Can you mention 5 of Rivers United, starting 11 today? Can you mention 5 of Eyimba starting 11 today? The players we have in the local scene today are not, big players, so to say. Victor Ezeji played for Dolphins, played for Eyimba. It was about the biggest project in the domestic scene. Victor Ezeji was one of the biggest products of the domestic league. And you go to, we used to have Kingsley Elvis, midfielder in Dolphins then. We had late Endurance in Daho in Dolphins. We had Efosa Egwaku, Ochuko, Ojobo. We had Kelechi Osunwa. These were guys that can hold their own anywhere, in the domestic scene and the continent of Africa. But today, we actually don't have any of them anymore. We hardly see the best leg in the domestic scene last season, having him around, for another season. So I can't remember the last time we celebrated a midfielder locally who did well, for example, for Club A, and we still see that player in the domestic scene for that same team in the next season, or play for another club side in the local league. So when you don't have your best legs around, what do you do on the continent? What kind of performance do you expect from the team on the continent? And a situation whereby the coaches and the managers of the team don't even go outside to also go shop for players from the West African sub-region. I will continue to talk about Eyimba and Dolphins. Back in Dolphins, you always have one player from maybe Ghana, you have 1 or 2 from Cote d'Ivoire, most especially midfielders, because these West African neighbors are breeders of fantastic players in the middle of the park. Eyimba will also do same. Once in a while, you have players from Benin Republic playing for Eyimba. And at some point, there was a goalkeeper from Niger Republic, But today, our coaches, our managers are not as ambitious as they should be. You're playing against a Congolese side now. Are you taking note of a particular player just in case you go past them and there's an opportunity for you to recruit to beef up your squad before the group stage? Our coaches actually don't do that. And they also don't get the kind of support they should get from the sponsors of the teams, or the club chairman or club general manager, as the case may be. I think the moment we begin to give coaches the support, and it is not shortcut to success, because for some club chairmen, they want to impress the governor of the day, that we made it to the continent, and we won the league title. I want to do everything possible to making sure that there's something to show at the end of the day. And you discover that most at times the winners don't actually merit the top spot that they got at the end of the season. So when you see them go to the continent the following season, you expect something of some sort of magic from them, and they are just so very far from it.
So far from it, so many factors responsible for Nigeria's gradual decline in the continent in terms of CAF organized competitions, down from the league management Then you talk about the local coaches who, many of them need an upgrade. You talk about the players themselves. They are going for, of course, overseas. They want to make more money just because maybe the league is not lucrative enough for them. And that is why you see so many, players. For example, if you discover a player top the goal scoring chart this season, you hardly, see such player staying put in that club next time out. Maybe they are trying to explore other options, but then I can tell you that the key factor is about the financial incentive, because you discover that even some clubs right here in Africa, they pay way better than what we pay right here in the league.
Far better, far better. You can imagine when players from Nigeria are going to Tanzania to play, are going to Zambia to play, are going to Uganda
even Benin Republic
to play, and they'll tell you they earn about $3,000-4,000 or $5,000, and that is about 7.5 million naira. Way better than the 300,000 naira. I think the most expensive player in the domestic scene earn about 800 to 1 million, 800,000 to 1 million naira, and it's still a far cry to what these players earn. So, and because they know football is not a pensionable job, and you have maybe like another 5 years ahead of you. I don't want to waste the 5 years here in Nigeria earning 350, 500, or 600. Let me go to any part of Africa where I can earn some $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 at the end of the month. And if I'm very prudent, I'm sure going to come back home at the end of every football season with close to 60, 70 million naira in my bank account, far more than what I could have gotten if I'd stay back in Nigeria for another 3 or 4 seasons. But I think that the moment we begin to have the private sector, back in the league, and organizers of the league try to be as transparent as possible. The men in black try to be as fair as possible. I keep telling people, if you shoot from the center and the ball go past the goalkeeper, the referee will not disallow it. If you play better than the home team and score, the referee will not deny you the opportunity of all 3 points. I've worked as media officer of Buzo United, now defunct. I've worked with Sharks FC and also worked with Bayelsa United at some point when Baribote Victor Romson was the manager. Players were expected to go into the field of play, commit suicide, and come out alive. You've gone to some terrible match venues and got desired results. I remember we came to Port Harcourt twice. Bayelsa United came to Port Harcourt twice against Dolphins, and one of those matches ended in a 2-2 draw. Fans were really excited with what they saw. And that, again, was because we also had players who have played together for about 2-3 years. They understand themselves pretty well. And you just bring 1, 2, 3, 5 players, established players, to beef up the squad. And you see it. The moment any Nigerian club side go for players who can command a regular place in any club side in the domestic scene, you see that club side, finishing in the top 3 brackets, at the end of the season, getting valuable points away from home and getting the desired results, at home to consolidate their place, at the top of the league table.
All right, let's leave that aside and head straight to the Super Eagles, because Nigeria and Colombia will clash in an international friendly at Citi Field in New York on Tuesday, 18th of November. It will be the third meeting between both countries. The Super Eagles will do battle with Venezuela at the Blue Energy Stadium in Houston in another friendly 4 days before the game against Colombia. Colombia will also take on New Zealand in 4th Lauderdale on November 15 before a clash with the Super Eagles. The Super Eagles will use both games as part of their preparation for the 2025 African Cup of Nations. The competition will be hosted by Morocco in December. Another, plan being intensified by the Nigerian Football Federation to, of course, pep up and prime the Super Eagles for the African Cup of Nations. But then, beyond that, the quality of, friendly games, are you satisfied with it?
I would say yes. I would say no. Because, yes, it is the Nations Cup finals, are taking place in Morocco. And one would have expected a friendly match against an African opposition, because you might likely be playing against a country in the West African sub-region in the group stage. Maybe play against a country from the northern part of Africa, or from the southern part of Africa, or the eastern part of Africa. So I would have expected, a friendly match, at that level against, an African opposition. If you look at the Nations Cup qualifiers, the World Cup qualifiers, we've played against, West African opponents. We've played against East African opponents. We've played against South African opponents. We've not played against, a North African opponent in the last 6 months or 7 months, as the case may be. So I would have expected, international friendly against a North African side. But again, that is a no for me. But the reason why the international friendly will also make some sense is to also afford the coach the opportunity one more time to have an idea who can readily fit into his philosophy for the Nations Cup finals. Because, hey, come to think of it, how you prepare your team against a European opponent is totally different from how you prepare your team against an African opponent, at the Nations Cup finals. And you know too well that Eric, has managed the Eagles of Mali up to the semi-finals and the last Nations Cup finals. So he has the experience already. He knows what to do. He knows what to bring to the table. And a Nations Cup triumph will just be a compensation for the Super Eagles. For Nigeria, peradventure, we don't get to qualify for the World Cup finals in 2026.
All right, we'll see how that one will pan out. But then moving on to Europe this evening, we can tell you that former Manchester United goalkeeper Ben Foster has predicted that his club will sack manager Ruben Amorim soon. According to Foster, Crystal Palace manager Oliver Glasner would be the ideal replacement for Amorim at the Old Trafford. Speaking on his forecast broadcast, the 24-year-old said that Amorim has a couple of months left at Manchester United. He added that the Red Devils will part ways with the Portuguese as soon as he goes on another bad run of a result. Amorim has managed 48 games at Manchester United so far, winning 19 and losing 20. Amorim's side currently sits in 11th position in the English Premier League after 2-1 victory over Chelsea Football Club. Former Manchester United safe hand Ben Foster is more like calling him a prophet of doom. He's envisaging that his former club is going to, sack Ruben Amorim if he continues with some bad form of a result. Is Ruben Amorim really the problem of Manchester United?
48 matches, 57 points. It should be the problem. And this can easily pass for the worst performance by any Manchester United manager, But we've seen them hired and fire coaches, in the last 3 football seasons, meaning that the handlers might not necessarily be the problem, and are those who call the shots in the team, talking about those that you don't see in the field of play, can possibly pass, for the problem. But I think Amorim has gotten more than enough support from the owners of Manchester United. We've seen coaches who have not lost the number of matches, he has lost, been shown the exit door. We've seen coaches who won titles, in Europe, but domestically, because they struggled, they were shown the exit door. So that grace that has been working for Amorim might not guarantee him, a long stay, at Old Trafford. So the earlier he starts, having a rethink of how his team should play, the better it is going to be for him, because he has gotten virtually the kind of players that he would have loved, to bring to Old Trafford. Goalkeepers have come, they have left. So it has not been a goalkeeping challenge. What about the back line? What about the middle of the pack?